Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we're foaming at the mouth to rank the Rabbids. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with ya. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. I feel like I need to tell the listeners
Yeah.
that I pitched a lot of cold opens
And
for
we couldn't
episode.
use a single one.
I felt like Rabbids really opened up a lot of angles for us. You got Old Yeller.
No,
You have,
look, all of these, they're all too sad, Mark.
Yeah. So listeners,
Yeah.
there are clearly two types of people in the world.
Yeah.
People who
stare into the abyss, dare the abyss to laugh at it.
There are Patricks and there are Marks. And so either you're
Wow.
a Patrick and you're glad that like our cold open got redirected, or you're like me who
Foaming at the mouth was also your pitch. But I think it's a good activity to go through your circle of friends and acquaintances and determine which of them are Patricks and which of them are Marks.
Yes.
I think it will be harder to distinguish between the two than you might think. Speaking of things you cannot possibly distinguish between, there are a lot of characters in Sonic Forces that are all pretty much the same. Would you like to borrow my copy of that game, Sonic Forces, for the Nintendo Switch? You can certainly try. All you gotta do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address where we can send you my copy of this game. You play it for as long as you want. You send it back. I pay for postage both ways, there and back. One thing that might happen to you, Goose. Untitled Goose Game. That may be in there instead of Sonic Forces. It's nothing we can do about it. It's just something that happens.
It has been so long since Sonic Forces was released
Yes.
that I think it's possible that people listening to this podcast don't realize that a big selling point of Sonic Forces is you are able to make your own Sonic character avatar.
Yes.
But you don't have to be a hedgehog. You can be a bird, I think.
Yeah, mine is a bird. Yeah, there are a bunch of different animals that they can be. The thing is, the game starts off and like Sonic is missing or presumed dead or something, but you rescue him like right away. See, Mark, you're just reveling in this in the death, and I don't know.
I
don't know what's going on
the
here.
Idea
Yeah,
that the plot, even just like the framing device,
Yeah.
for this game is Sonic is missing.
presumed dead.
Tickles me for whatever reason. I can't explain
It's
it.
incongruous.
That's it.
No,
I didn't have anything else. to
I
add.
was waiting for you to say that we are asking people to give us 5-star reviews on the Apple Podcast Store, but I gotta say, I just did it again. It's not a store, the Apple Podcast app. I am not enjoying my experience with the Apple Podcast app at the moment. I'm finding it to be. I think it's getting worse.
I agree. I 100% agree.
What do you use right now?
I use Overcast. now.
Okay.
That is what I switched to. Listeners may remember that when I first switched to Overcast, I learned that you cannot review anything in Overcast. You can star it. You can like favorite it, which presumably things that have a lot of favorites get recommended higher in the algorithm. So I think the lesson from this is, while we are checking the US podcast store app, the Apple Podcast app in the US, we love it when you rate, review, favorite us wherever you get this show.
Yeah.
And if you send us an email or a message on Twitter that you rated us somewhere, we would love to give you a shout out.
Yeah, so do that, and then we will. And also, I will take any recommendations. Overcast, Mark says. I'm also using Stitcher a little bit. But if anyone has a podcast app that they're really enjoying, let me know that, because it's only getting worse like day by day. And I can't put up with it much longer, Mark. I listen to too many podcasts to be inconvenienced by an app that serves me podcasts. All right, Mark, let's get into our topic of this week. Let's rank the Rabbids. All right, that was the short transition music, which is not the right one, but that's fine. Um, Mark, we've got a new Mario plus Rabbids. Oh, and first of all, this is what we're doing. It is not just all the Rabbids ever, because there may be other named Rabbids.
Yeah,
right.
Very important.
These are only Rabbids that have been mashed up somehow, either through magic or technology. I forget which.
Yeah. Okay, go on. And
Yes.
then I have something to say about that.
Mashed up with Mario characters. I finished my sentence. You may now.
Okay, so
Yes.
today before we recorded, I watched some of the cutscenes from this game to refresh myself on some of the personalities of these characters, and I forgot about the whole framing device of the first Mario plus Rabbids game, Kingdom Battle, where it opens and you are like a young girl.
Right.
It's all in kind of like the first person perspective because I guess really you're seeing the world through a VR headset, or like it's actually more like AR, like augmented reality headset that this young girl, like genius inventor, has created. And what it does is like you can like look at two objects and then it'll mash it together.
And then the one Rabbid gets it like fused to his head.
Yeah. And then like because a washing machine full of Rabbids, like presumably some sort of like time machine or transport, I guess, shows up in this little girl's room. The little girl's a really big Mario fan. She has like Nintendo stuff everywhere.
Right.
And then so chaos ensues, and they're somehow sucked into the portal of the Mushroom Kingdom. That is still unclear to me why that happens. But I forgot the whole framing device where you're like young girl inventor.
Yeah, but then like we obviously just move away from her. Is she controlling the little like rabbit Roomba thing?
No, it's like an AI, like
It's an
a
AI,
Siri
okay.
type thing
All right.
that like exists in the world of the headset. I'm curious if the second game is going to like bring this character back, or if we're beyond
would be
like the
interesting,
framing
yeah.
device, or like maybe at the very end of whatever the last Mario plus Rabbids game is, she'll appear as like a bookend. You know, it'll be
Sure,
like
right.
the end of How I Met Your
beginning
Mother.
and at the Yeah, I think that would be good. Just emulate How I Met Your Mother. People love the way that ended. This is perhaps an odd time for us to be revisiting the Rabbid characters. But I think that the announcement of a new Mario plus Rabbids game, Sparks of Hope, sort of like it was a pop at E3, which we are not talking about. But it was a pop, and then that's sort of it. We all saw, 2022, and we were like, all right, cool. Text me about it later.
Hype deferred.
Yes, and a hype deferred. What? How did he say a dream denied? A dream deferred? How does this go?
I won't even venture a
Great.
guess.
It feels like it was an announcement that we all like dismissed. And I just want to like relish in it for a second. Like we're getting another one of these games.
And the first one was so good.
The first one is so good and so strange and so specific.
And so like surprising.
Yes, because we got. Look, Mark and I have made no secret of our love for Rabbid Peach, who is a strange troll creature who lives in like the now, like takes selfies with her ugly phone. And I don't know, she's a monster, and I love her.
Mm-hmm.
She's my favorite.
She's like
maybe we'll see.
She reminds me of Pearl from Splatoon 2.
Yeah,
she's like the strange like goblin creature, kind of like revel in the grossness of it all.
Yeah. But like, is not without her fabulous. Like, there's a fabulousness to the monstrosity.
Absolutely.
Right. So we thought we would take a little time to revisit our favorite Rabbids, by starting by ranking the Rabbids from the original game. And so again, we are not going to rank that Rabbid who has the mixer-upper device fused to his face. These are just. Do we want to run down the Rabbids that we're going to start with?
Yeah. So we're also including the characters from the Donkey Kong DLC. But it is Rabbid Yoshi, Rabbid Peach, Rabbid Luigi, Rabbid Mario, Rabbid Kong, and Rabbid Cranky.
Right. So Rabbid Cranky is a playable character in the DLC. Rabbid Kong is never playable.
Right.
But he's a boss like in the main game, right?
Point of order.
Yes.
Shouldn't Rabbid Kong be Rabbid King? Donkey. Rabbid Donkey.
Rabbid. Right, because this is not King Kong.
Right.
No, the character's name is Rabbid Kong. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I know, but I understand that that is what like the name is.
Sure. So you're taking issue with Davide Solani and the developers at Ubisoft.
Miyamoto going straight to
Oh
the
my
top.
god.
Yeah.
uh
Just seems inconsistent to me.
so here's what I think happened. I think Rabbid Kong is in the main game and they're like, well, obviously it's Rabbid Kong, Rabbid Donkey feels like something else. And then when they did the DLC and they were like, okay, now we need to do one with Cranky Kong, and they were like, well, you can't call this one also Rabbid Kong.
Yeah.
Rabbid Cranky Kong, though, I feel like would be appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got that sorted out. And I'm glad we're not fighting. Look, after this is something that we have not had to assert in a long time. After we finish this ranking, we're still friends.
That's right. And it is important that we state that because I do feel like this could get heated. So yeah, I agree 100%. No matter what happens here, we leave it on the field. We're friends afterwards.
Right. Okay. So there may be other characters that join the fray here later that we don't know that much about. But let's start with the core 6. Let's maybe start at the bottom and say like which of these Rabbids we feel the least about.
Okay. Do you have any strong opinions?
So I think for me a bottom tier Mario Rabbid is Rabbid Luigi.
Oh, interesting.
I like Rabbid Luigi. I like all of these characters. I think they're all interesting. But Rabbid Luigi is got he almost just feels like a rabbid to me. Like there doesn't appear to be any extra personality stapled on. He's kind of like droopy, kind of dumb. His shirt's too big for him. And like I don't know, that appears to be all of his posture. I don't know that he has much personality beyond just being like kind of aloof and goofy.
The thing I like about I personally would not put Rabbid Luigi at the bottom, near the bottom for sure, but not at the bottom.
Right.
For me, the thing I like about Rabbid Luigi, and I think what bumps him up a few slots for me, is that he is like a puppy in that he will he's always like checking out to see what the other, like Rabbids are doing and taking his social cues from them or from like Mario and the gang. Like he's very like, oh, okay, like we're being solemn now. Got it. Like I'll snap into that mode because like I can't read the social cues, but I can look around and be like, oh, this is what everybody else is doing. I'm gonna fall in line.
It's interesting that like filtered through the lens of Rabbid, that Luigi's cowardice becomes Rabbid Luigi's social cowardice.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Who do you put at the bottom of your list then?
So there's two for me that would go below Rabbid Luigi. One is Rabbid Kong, who I classify as hot but rude. And
the Raphael special. I know he's cool but rude, but yeah.
It's like, look, you can be like unattainable, that's fine, but don't be rude about it.
Okay, but here's the thing about Rabbid Kong. Is I don't know if there's any part of that game that made me laugh as much as his first appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Just like sauntering onto that level with the one big snaggly tooth and like, walking on his knuckles. Like he's just so charming to me. But I guess maybe that falls under the hot but rude.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I mean,
I really wanted to hear that metaphor. I wanted it so bad.
I was reaching for it. I decided I'm going to leave it aside.
Yep, abandon ship on the side of the road.
Yeah,
it's fine.
my emotional baggage need not be brought into this discussion any more than it already has been. So that's Rabbid Kong.
Okay,
hot but rude. And then Rabbid Mario.
Oh, Mark, we're gonna fight about this one.
Okay,
I think.
So Rabbid Mario to me just has the Mario problem where, like you were saying, you thought Rabbid Luigi wasn't that interesting. I feel like Rabbid Mario is not that interesting.
Here's the thing, and this is gonna sound crazy, but Rabbid Mario has a rugged confidence about himself. That if I were casting these characters with like actors from our world, Rabbid Mario would absolutely have to be played by Kurt Russell. I will not take any notes on that casting. It's perfect. He's just he's got that toothpick like that he's like playing with in his mouth. He's got a worldliness about him. And look, who knows where how any of these rabbits have any experience or knowledge or whatever.
Right.
But he is a world weary warrior who we'll see traveling through space, maybe, I don't know, in the next game. I like the Rabbid Mario a lot.
I think this is going to be harder than I expected.
Yeah, we're not going to see as much eye to eye, I don't think.
Okay, so here's a curveball.
Okay.
And I wonder if we might be able to find some agreement here. Is Rabbid Yoshi is not my favorite. Only because I feel like his characterization as just like crazy is
it's grating.
It's a little thin just because like the Rabbids are already crazy. And it is funny how like insane Rabbid Yoshi is, but I think there's not much to it other than
that. I will agree with that. I think it's also Rabbid Yoshi is the last one to join your party, right?
I think so.
So like you just sort of necessarily get less playtime with him than you do the other characters. I think it's also weird that obviously the rest of the Rabbids are like fused with the other characters, but Rabbid Yoshi is clearly just wearing a Yoshi costume, right? Like he doesn't become a Yoshi. But like Rabbid Mario, first of all, he's got that mustache, and I don't think Rabbid Luigi has a mustache. Yeah, he does not.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I wonder if like Rabbid Yoshi. And I cannot remember if we actually see him get fused, but maybe he's so crazy that he sees Rabbid Peach, Rabbid Luigi, Rabbid Mario.
He just wants to be part of it.
He's like the Waluigi of this game, where he's just like, I just want in on this. Like, oh, like I am so crazy. This seems like a good outlet for my craziness.
Well, so let's break this down a second. Does that make him a more attractive character or a less attractive character?
They can't all be attractive characters.
Okay, you know what I mean.
I guess they can be
characters that we like.
No. I know, but it's just like we're gonna have to break the tie at some point.
I know. We may as well bring up Rabbid Cranky at this point because he's the only one that we've not thrown into the mix. I have not actually played any of the Donkey Kong DLC. So I've never had like an experience with him, but I did bring up his entry on the Mario Wiki, Super Mario Wiki. And I'll just read the first paragraph here. Rabbid Cranky is a rabbid dressed as Cranky Kong. I mean, he's more than dressed as Cranky Kong, but whatever. He appears in the let's see. Okay, second paragraph. Rabbid Cranky's primary weapon is the boom. No, I want personality. Rabbid Cranky seems to share many personality traits with Cranky Kong. When Rabbid Peach took his walking stick to use as a selfie stick without his permission, he became angry at her, although he did pose with her for the selfies. Rabbid Cranky also dislikes being insulted, as he hits Beepo, that's the little Roomba thing, with his cane for downgrading him and uses him to move around the map. Rabbid Cranky does share similar traits with fellow Rabbids, such as their love of mischief and chaos, but he seems to be somewhat more mature due to his, and this is in quotes, age.
That's right. I guess we don't really have any proof that he's old. He might be a young Rabbid who got mixed up with Cranky.
What do you think the lifespan of a Rabbid is?
I feel like in captivity in ideal conditions they could live a long time, but I think outside of it they die really young because they don't make wise choices.
Just because they're like reckless. So like 7 years. 7. And in captivity they're like parrots. They're 90 years old. Okay, all right. So yeah, there's no way to know how old they actually are because they're again transformed by science or magic or one by way of the other. I don't have any like affinity for this rabbit. I do think it's interesting that in the way that some of these personality traits seem to be affectations, that he's like pretending to be an old man.
Yeah, that is funny. Like, it probably gets him out of having to go to parties and stuff like that.
Totally.
Did you say from that paragraph that he likes to be insulted? Is that...
No.
Okay.
He dislikes being insulted.
Got it. Okay. I, for now, am very happy putting Rabbid Cranky at the bottom.
Yeah, me too, just because I have no real personal connection. And, you know, it raises the totally valid point of what's up with this naming convention? What's going on? I know we screwed it up by calling the first one Rabbid Kong, but like Dixie Kong, would that be Rabbid Dixie? That feels like something different too.
Yeah, yeah. Pray we never have to
yeah.
cross that bridge.
Let's put Rabbid Kong just above him
Okay.
for the time being.
Yeah. All subject to change.
All subject to change, and feels a little bit predictable at this point, right? That we put the two Kongs below the rest of the Rabbids.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, less. The four that we have left are definitely like the core, the ones that you spend the most time with, ones that have the most personality.
Yeah.
And okay, so we actually have not discussed the ranking for Rabbid Peach. We previously kind of like talked about why we like her and why she's a good example of what we like about these Rabbid Mario characters. But because right now we kind of just have like a miasma of like 4 Rabbid characters and not real like. I think we're gonna have to get down into like the nitty gritty,
right,
in order to figure out like, well, where does Rabbid Yoshi go versus Luigi?
So I think something that we need to establish is, are we ranking these just based on how good they are as characters or how good they are as Rabbids, right? Because
as in like their utility in the game?
No, I mean in.
Oh, as like, are they good at being a rabbit?
Yeah, are they good for being a rabbit,
that's
right? Like, because I would say, generally speaking, and prior to the release of Kingdom Battle, I did not care for the Rabbids, right? So
Proto-minions.
Or the minions, because they're the same. But like on a scale that it like shows rabbidness, are we ranking them on that, or are we ranking them on a scale like devoid of any of that context?
Well, I guess with any of these, we kind of take it all into account, right?
Yeah.
And so, if we're saying which one is like the most embodies the id of Rabbid, the most.
Is that why they're called that? Because they're like the id version of a rabbit.
Is that the id version of a rabbit? Is a rabbit's?
Oh, I don't know. Oh yeah, the rabbit's super ego keeps it in check. Otherwise, it'd be a maniac.
So in that regard, I guess I would say that Yoshi and Peach are the purest form of Rabbid. Yeah.
And then probably Luigi, and then probably Mario, right?
Yeah, because like you were saying, like Mario has the most swagger.
Yes.
I would say Luigi's probably the worst. Rabbid Luigi is probably the worst Rabbid.
Just because he lacks the sort of like stupid confidence of the rest of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also like a stoicism about the Rabbid Mario that makes him feel less like a rabbid.
Right.
Okay.
But honestly, for me, like, I don't know how much it matters, like, if they are good Rabbids or bad Rabbids.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. I think what it boils down to is we just got to do some gut checks here. It sounds like if we are just, let's pit Mario against Luigi.
Yeah, I think that's what we got to do.
We got
to do one-on-ones.
We got to do some one-on-one matches here. I prefer Rabbid Mario to Rabbid Luigi. Mark, your rebuttal.
I'm okay with it. I'll back down a little bit. I'm okay with it. So I think your description, like the lens through which you view Rabbid Mario, is much more interesting to me than like the characterization of Rabbid Luigi.
Sure. Okay. So that is all just temporary. Let's figure out where Rabbid Yoshi fits in here. Let's put him up against Rabbid Luigi.
Okay.
Yoshi versus Luigi right now.
Yep. They're kind of like opposite spectrums.
Totally,
right?
Yeah.
Like Yoshi is pure chaos. He's like an out of control, like a dog that you go over to like their house and they're just like running circles in the room. They're like so excited to be there, knocking stuff over. Like they just can't control themselves.
Right, which is exciting, but it's also like a dog that like he might bite you.
It feels chaotic.
Yeah.
It feels a little unsafe.
Yes, like genuinely unsafe.
Yeah.
In a sort of cute way, but also in a like you might bleed kind of way.
Right. Rabbid Luigi, on the other hand, is like the opposite. He's kind of like the shy dog, the shy puppy. You know, he'll like play with you and interact. He might like nip you on the hand.
Okay, now it does seem like our biases are going to start to show through here, because obviously I would rather spend time with this pleasant shy puppy.
I mean,
What is that?
I mean, I think you're right. Like, I think you're right.
Okay. So I think that means we think Rabbid Luigi better than Rabbid Yoshi.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and so let's just quickly. It doesn't have to be long, but let's Rabbid Yoshi versus Rabbid Kong. Kind of two different, like two totally different types of characters. Although both like chaotic, both like bedtime destruction.
Right. Here's the thing. I mean, the hot but rude, I feel like may trump rude by default because crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think I prefer Rabbid Kong to Rabbid Yoshi.
Well, at least you know what you're getting.
Yes,
right?
that's true.
Like, Rabbid Kong isn't going to stab you all of a sudden.
No, he's going to, like, throw bananas at you, but, like, he's going to telegraph it's going to be easy to avoid.
Right.
Okay. And then just to do our due diligence.
Right, and versus Rabbid Cranky.
I think I prefer Rabbid Yoshi.
I think so too. Just if nothing else, again, sorry Rabbid Cranky, but we didn't play your DLC.
Yeah, great point.
You may be a really charming character, but I don't know that I'll ever find out.
No, probably never will. I do think I got to give a shout out to both of them for committing to the bit, right? That obviously Rabbid Yoshi, as we said, is wearing a Yoshi costume and is not actually turned into a Yoshi, and the Rabbid Cranky for developing a limp, walking with a cane, and like wearing an old cardigan.
Just really embracing being old.
Just really leaning in.
Yeah.
All right, so that means at the bottom of the list is Rabbid Cranky at the bottom. At number 5 is Rabbid Yoshi. Number 4 is Rabbid Kong. Number 3, Rabbid Luigi. And then the top 1 and 2, we've got Rabbid Mario and Rabbid Peach. I mean, I'm hard pressed to not to come up with a reason to knock Peach out of first place. Like,
is it possible that Rabbid Peach is the perfect character?
Kinda.
Is there anything I genuinely cannot think of any like negative thing that I would say about her.
No, neither can I. Mark, can I run something by you?
Please.
We obviously did not hear that much about this. You know, there were 2 trailers, one sort of like gameplay and one not. Just like a reveal trailer at the event that we are no longer talking about. But we know that the game's going to come out in 2022. So there's going to be like some sort of like big coming out for the game where they like really dive deep into it. What if that coincides with the with the final Mr. Sakurai presents Rabbid Peach?
That would be, now that you put that in my head.
Yeah.
That's such a good idea. That is such a fun idea to get one of these Rabbid characters in the game.
And the thing is, it like squares the circle on like all of the, because it is both a third-party character and a Nintendo character. It is a classic while also being like wholly new. She'd be the perfect she's the perfect additional character to add to the game.
And it's possible that we could get like an alternate costume that's like Rabbid Daisy, which we haven't seen in it yet.
God.
That is such a fun idea. I would love that so much. Man, I'm gonna be there's no way that's going to happen, which is such a bummer because that is an amazingly fun idea. But no, I think Rabbid Peach is a really unique character for this game and a great like mascot for this game in general, because when the first like images started leaking before the E3 2017 reveal of this, like we saw Rabbid Peach, we saw she was taking a selfie, we saw she had this phone, and there was a lot of like collective cringing where it's like, what, like, is this going to be bad? Because it seems like it could be really bad. And instead, Rabbid Peach turned out to be so delightful, just like the rest of the game did, that I feel like she's the perfect, like, she's so emblematic of the game as a whole.
I agree.
That I think, like, on top of her, like, winning personality,
right?
Winning characterization, that the fact that she does such a good job of selling what the game is.
Also, let me know if this feels true to you too, as it feels true to me. And I can't place my finger on it exactly, but there is something queer about Rabbid Peach in a way that the rest of the characters don't embrace. And I don't know if it's like a drag thing or if there's something else going on, but she feels like she's skirting that edge of like just being different on a different dimension than the rest of the Rabbids.
Yeah, totally.
Feels true. Feels true.
Yeah, it does feel true.
All right, great. And so obviously we support that on the show. Rabbid Peach is the best. So from the bottom up, Rabbid Cranky at number 6, Rabbid Yoshi at number 5, Rabbid Kong at number 4, Rabbid Luigi at number 3, Rabbid Mario at number 2, and the GOAT, Rabbid Peach at number 1.
Now that you bring that up, do you think that Rabbid Mario has kind of like a drag king thing going for him?
Oh my god, absolutely!
That he's like,
he's a parody of masculinity and she's a parody of femininity.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Mark, we cracked it. I love this so much. But obviously those are the characters that we are familiar with, except for the one, Cranky, that we're not actually familiar with. But there's a whole new game coming out, and they're adding more Rabbids to the mix, which means, Mark, you and I are duty-bound to also add those same Rabbids to the mix. And we're going to do this sort of blind.
Yeah, we're basing this off of the tiny cutscene that we saw in the reveal trailer. And that's pretty much it. One of the characters, we don't even know. I mean, I guess really most of these characters, we don't even know what their names are.
No, and we're missing one, too, on the post-it. So there's just like a vanilla yellow Rabbid Luma as well. So here are the characters that we're dealing with. There is
wait. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, it's confusing in our notes. So the characters that we're dealing with, we are dealing with, of course, a Rabbid Rosalina. We are dealing with 3 different Rabbid Lumas, who I suspect we will be referring to as the titular Sparks of Hope, but like, who knows? There's a yellow one who is maybe electricity based. It's hard to say. There's a red one who's probably fire based, and then there's a blue one who is possibly ice based. But that's just me, trying to think ahead of the mechanics. We just don't know. And then speaking of we just don't know, there is a character that we are referring to simply as Sexy Goth Rabbid. He appears halfway through the second of the 2 trailers, and he's holding like a big flat sword, and he's got black and green hair. My first thought was, is that like a Bowser Rabbid?
Oh, interesting. I did not even think about. I don't consider purple to be a very like Bowser.
Yeah, and even the
color.
the green's wrong.
But I do feel like it has a very like Avril Lavigne like mall goth like fun look to it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm super curious. I don't know. I'm racking my brain thinking of like even Mario adjacent characters that it could be, and struggling to come up with one.
Yeah, it's tough. So we'll deal more with him in a second. With that Sexy Goth Rabbid in a second. First, I just want to let's talk about the characterization of Rabbid Rosalina, because she's the most clearly characterized, I think, of these 5, right?
Yes, and one who I already am in love with her characterization.
Right.
I think how like, because Rosalina in the Mario Galaxy games is such like, she's so composed and put together. She's very regal. She's very like, she's very concerned about the well-being of others.
Right.
And Rabbid Rosalina is just like so put out in the trailer to have to do things like a moody like 14-year-old who you asked to go mow the lawn. Like
she does the thing where she slides out of the chair like butt first and falls down on the ground and then stands up. It's very funny. I'm really looking forward to spending time with this character. I do like that is like a complete 180 of the Rosalina personality.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's a great take on the character in the same way that Rabbid Peach is a great take on the character.
Yes.
Where but different enough from Rabbid Peach that in what we've seen. I also like that Rabbid Rosalina, her weapon appears to be inside of like a stuffed Luma that she has, but it's like really like very handmade, very like roughly sewn together, like Sally from the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I feel like the character's gonna pay off dividends. Like the more time we spend with her, the more we'll be like, what is your deal? You're so weird. Um, and then I think personalities get harder to divine as we go down the list here.
Yeah. The Lumas, I almost think we should just like group together as like one
Right,
entity,
right.
where it's just like the Lumas.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to just like talk briefly about what we think the like functionality of these Lumas are in the game, because in the gameplay trailer there is a Luma accompanying each of the three characters on screen at all times. So what I'm intuiting from this is that at the beginning of a fight, you select your three characters that are going in, and then assign them each one of the Lumas. So
Which
like,
works as like an elemental attack.
yeah, exactly, or like a special attack that you can like build up to, or something along those lines. Which I think is a cool like way to sort of flesh out the combat mechanics here.
Yeah, adds another variable in. Do you think then that they qualify? Yeah, sure, they qualify as characters, even though they may not be like playable unto themselves.
Yeah. I mean, we got a Rabbid Kong on this list, right?
Right. There is something, because like the Lumas in the Super Mario Galaxy game, I don't really think of them as having any personality at all.
Yeah, I mean there are a few like separate Lumas, right? Like there is the Luma named Luma that like hangs out with Rosalina in Smash Brothers, right? Like that one is a specific one. There's Luba, who drives the face ship, Starship Mario. And then there are like different kinds, like the hungry Lumas that you feed up with star bits. But yeah, I guess you're right in that I can't really tell you what any one of their personalities is like.
Yeah, and so that's kind of how I feel about these so far, where it's like, well, they're rabid versions of Lumas, so they're going to be a little bit crazy, but otherwise they're fairly milquetoast to me. I would put, if we're grouping them together, and I would put them at the bottom of however we're going to rank this, just because they just don't have any distinguishing features at this point.
Can I say though that I do think the combination of I know we just said Lumas don't have personality, but I'm going to contradict that. In that they have a sort of like quiet wonder, or there's like an innocence about them. And it's fun to see that mashed up with the sort of lunacy of a rabbit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We see it in the first trailer where there's like one of them that's like watching a sort of like holographic presentation. And it's like, ooh, and like there's that normal like Luma sort of like, I'm sweet, I'm cute, I'm curious, I'm looking to see what the thing is. And then like a hand reaches out of the hologram, and like then it starts to like go nuts a little bit. And I'm looking forward to seeing how those two conflicting personalities are squared in one creature.
I think that's a good call out. I still would vote for them
me too.
being
Me
at
too.
the bottom.
Okay. And then the sexy goth rabbit.
I mean, dying to know more about this character.
Yeah.
Love everything about it.
Can you think of any like comps to existing characters that you're like, he reminds me of?
Oh man, who's this rock and roll? Trying to think of like a character in video games that is like this.
My first thought was Sephiroth. Is that wrong?
I think it could be a Rabbid version of Sephiroth, because I think this character obviously has like more of a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And is like cooler in the sense like this one shops at Hot Topic, where I feel like Sephiroth is like getting all of his clothing from like some like designer, place that specializes in really like muted palettes.
But also Sephiroth knows that his best look is going to be shirtless anyway.
Right. Yeah. I do get like a Cloud from Final Fantasy VII sort of thing coming from it, because Cloud Strife?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because not as absurdly large as Cloud's sword, but the Sexy Goth Rabbit does have a large like anime sword.
I do like that you and I are both drawn to this sword in a way where we're like, I don't know, it's part of his personality. Do you think there is a bit of a try-hard element to this character?
Yes, but I think that it is, because it is channeled through a rabbit, I think it is like a knowing, purposeful try-hard, like whereas like Dante in the Devil May Cry reboot from the like mid 2010s where it was just called DMC.
Yeah.
Like that felt very much like trying too hard, or Dante from Dante's Inferno, that like God of War ripoff that
Right.
EA made.
Yeah.
Where that felt like it was trying too hard. Like I feel like this is a parody of trying too hard, and so it's funny to me. It feels in on the joke.
Okay. And I think that is also supported by what we see of this character in the trailer, because he like jumps down, he's got a sword, it is very intimidating. And we cut over to the rest of the cast, and they are smitten. I believe one of them has hearts for eyes. Maybe even our girl Rabbid Peach. So yeah, I think there is a as you say, a knowingness to the try hard, like broody anime sweetheart.
Yeah, it feels like a parody of Cloud Strife, whether it is truly a Rabbid version of Cloud Strife or not.
This is great. I never want to learn this character's name.
No, I hope we never know.
All right, so let's figure out where we slot in Sexy Goth Rabbid and Rabbid Rosalina.
Okay, so I think the only fair way to do this is we just have to do it like aspirationally, right?
Okay.
So like if we my vote is like, if these characters turn out to be all we hope that they are,
Sure.
this is where they would go, because otherwise I feel like they have to go at the bottom pretty much, or close to the bottom.
Sure, because it's all speculative. Yeah. Okay, so should we take Rabbid Rosalina, start her at the top, and just do match by match by match until
I think so.
Until she wins?
Yeah. So I think it is possible that Rabbid Rosalina will be like the Rabbid Peach of this game and become like my new favorite character.
So I think that is possible as well. I had a little bit of and this is like a meta reaction to a reaction, so forgive me. But people identified Rabbid Rosalina early, right away, and were like, she's a whole mood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was like, no.
You're putting your foot down.
I'm putting my foot down.
Not engaging.
And look, like we can't all. Yeah, I mean that's honestly what I did. I did not challenge it. I do think that there's a sort of eagerness to like latch on to Rabbid Rosalina. And I also am wary of. God, I just love the original character Rosalina so much. And this is clearly making fun of her.
It's personal to you.
It's personal to me.
Yeah.
Rosalina's a mega babe, and like maybe we need to take our mega babes down a notch from time to time. But like I don't know, it's still sacred ground to me, is what I'm saying.
Well, I have no feelings on that last point, but I will say that where I agree with you, and that I think we can't dethrone Rabbid Peach for this theoretical character, is because Rabbid Peach had to earn it.
Yes.
Right? Like, we saw Rabbid Peach at first, and we were like, no. Yuck, I don't like this taste. Get it out of here. Get it out of my mouth. Whereas
I don't like this taste, and I don't like anything that is going to follow it.
Yeah,
right?
I'm skeptical, like hard skepticism. But Rabbid Peach won us over, right? And so Rabbid Rosalina is benefiting from that goodwill, from the goodwill
standing
that
on the
Peach,
shoulders of giants.
Yeah, which like is taking nothing away from Rabbid Rosalina, except a little bit, because we're not putting her first. So I agree with you. I don't think that Rabbid Rosalina can dethrone Rabbid Peach. I am going to say
this is a fight.
I have similar feelings about Rabbid Mario, a character that I came in prepared to rank very lowly, but have determined is a queer icon with Rabbid Peach, so am now a fan of. Rabbid Rosalina, again, I feel like I feel most comfortable putting below Rabbid Mario and probably above Rabbid Luigi, but could be talked down.
Yeah, I mean, I think below Rabbid Mario, like, absolutely tracks with my view of that character. So let's talk Rabbid Rosalina v Rabbid Luigi. As you say, this is tough. I think my gut says that I like the idea of Rabbid Rosalina better than Rabbid Luigi.
I think so too. I'm actually not to belabor this, but I'm wondering if Rabbid Luigi is maybe too high.
I wanted to put him near the bottom.
I know, and I talked him up. But the struggle I have is putting him below Rabbid Kong. And I think it just comes down to politeness, right? Rabbid Luigi, I feel like
your politeness or his politeness.
Rabbid Luigi, I feel like you could be friends with.
Yeah.
Rabbid Kong, you were friends with in junior high, then they stopped talking to you in high school.
Right, but
know
you're
what I
still
mean?
friends with him on Facebook. You still follow him on Instagram.
Okay. So below Rabbid. Oh wait, no. Rabbid Rosalina above Rabbid Luigi.
Right.
Quick gut check on whether we think Rabbid Luigi can go any lower.
Okay. Well,
my personal scars, I think, just don't allow me to go below Rabbid Kong.
All right, I think that's fair.
Okay.
Let's not challenge that. I don't think. Now we got to deal with sexy goth Rabbid.
This is tough to do.
And I think we have to find a starting point because I don't think it's fair to I don't think he's not top 3.
No, he can't be top 3, or they can't be top 3.
Right. Great point.
We don't know.
Right.
They can't be top 3. Look, there's always going to be the sexy goth Rabbid in my mind.
Right.
And we're playing a dangerous game, which happens with trailers all the time, where we're building out a story, a character, an experience in our mind, and then it building it up to impossible proportions where like there's no way that it could possibly live up to whatever crazy thing that we can't even articulate, but in our mind it's just like a gut, like this is what this character is.
Right. We don't want to Mephisto this thing. We got to keep our fan expectations in check.
Yeah.
And that's I mean there's also the component of like the try hard, the knowing try hardness is very funny, but like in a way that is also kind of like, I don't know, are we living in a post irony world or a post irony world? And like, what does that mean for our appetite for like a sexy goth Rabbid?
Well, what I hope that we are like, I want to live in a post irony.
Okay.
World.
Yes.
Like I want to wait. Is that right? What I want is I want to embrace sincerity again.
Right.
Where like we can just take things.
That's just regular old post irony.
Okay. Well, wherever we are.
Right.
I think Sexy Goth Rabbid is a character I have high hopes for, but because we know so little about
him,
and I think dreams are a fragile thing, and so I think we should aim low and let them exceed our expectations. So I think we should put them above Cranky, but below Rabbid Yoshi, a known entity.
Okay, so let's put him right up against the Rabbid Yoshi, because I think that is the right area. He is either just better than or just worse than the Rabbid Yoshi, or just exactly the same. But we do not allow for ties, except in the case of the Rabbid Lumas, which of course is a 3-way tie because we can't tell you anything about any of them. Sexy Goth Rabbid versus Rabbid Yoshi.
Point for Rabbid Yoshi is comfortable in his own skin. The skin is crazy.
Oh, the skin is the skin of a Yoshi.
That's right. That's a compelling point. But like, I guess seems to me to enjoy being who they are.
Right.
Whereas
that's his choice.
Yeah.
To do that. He's not dressing as a Yoshi for anyone else. Whereas Sexy Goth Rabbid
could be.
Dyes their hair, wears this giant sword for the reaction. We think.
Right. I mean, hard to know, right? Like I feel like we have all been Sexy Goth Rabbid before.
Yes.
Where we have not all been Rabbid Yoshi. And whether that's like a good thing or a bad thing, I think is kind of like what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, yes.
Like, which do we admire? I think I relate more to Sexy Goth Rabbid.
Yes.
But I
and I understand him better, I think.
Yeah.
Even though it's a character that we don't know.
Yeah. So with that projecting of myself in mind, I say above.
I think
Rabbid
above
Yoshi?
too. I think above, yeah.
Okay.
And so I think that is going to lock our rankings into place. Mark, what you think you're happy with what we see on the table in front of us?
So. And I'm proud of us for keeping it civil.
Yeah, me too. We only shouted a little bit. At the bottom of the list, a 3-way tie between the fiery yellow or red Rabbid, the blue icy Oh, sorry, the Lumas. It's the 3 Lumas. One is red, one is blue, one is yellow. We don't know what their powers are. We think fire, ice, and electricity, respectively, but who cares? Next, at the next bottom of the list is Rabbid Cranky, and then Rabbid Yoshi, and then Sexy Goth Rabbid, and then Rabbid Kong, and then Rabbid Luigi, and then the top 3 coming in at number 3, Rabbid Rosalina. Number 2 is Rabbid Mario, and number 1, queer icon, Rabbid Peach.
I think it'll be fun to revisit this once Sparks of Hope is released. And hopefully, maybe there's going to be additional Rabbid characters that show up. And it'll be fun to see if our prediction for Rabbid Rosalina and particularly for Sexy Goth Rabbid turn out to be accurate.
I mean, what if it turns out that like there are fully developed personalities for the Rabbid Lumas, and
or what if like Rabbid Kong as part of the plot like apologizes to Sexy Goth Rabbid?
Oh my god!
For like the years
for
like
beating him up in high school.
Like, yeah, exactly.
This is good. This is a good list. I'm happy with the work we've done. Mark, let's close this segment out. And of course, that's just our ranking of these Rabbid characters. If you have any objections to how we ranked anyone or any additional insight that we have left out, you can always email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Or you can tweet at us. We are at NinCart Society on Twitter. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Please rank, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts or a better podcast app. If you like the episode, please share it on Facebook or Twitter. We appreciate it when you do that. On Twitter, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark's at MK Mitchell, and I already said the show is at NinCart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.
Hey, it's Mia.
Hey, it's Allie.
And we host the rom-com review podcast, P.S. I Love Rom-Coms.
Each week, we'll have incredible guests come and discuss a new rom-com, grand gestures, meet-cutes, and of course, that elusive chemistry. Mia, what are you doing holding that giant boombox over your head?
I'm hoping to win over listeners with this grand gesture. Take us back!
Find a new episode every week.
And subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Brought to you by Campfire Media. Wow, you're still holding that boombox.
Yeah, I've got great upper body strength. Thanks, CrossFit.
P.S. I love rom-coms.
Campfire.